Let me ask you all a question. Do you know what a shark is? Raise your hands if you know what a shark is, please. Do you all know at least one type of shark? That's great. You've all been listening to your teachers, I believe. So, let me share with you an interesting fact about the shark. The shark may be the apex predator in the ocean. However, it has a terrible weakness. If it stops swimming, it stops breathing, stops life. If it stops swimming, it stops moving, it stops its life. Well, I believe I'm a bit of a shark, so I'll be moving around a bit, but I have a lot of content for which I want you to follow. Please stay tuned. I want you all to think about what you do once you get back home after a long day at school doing absolutely nothing. After doing zip zero nada in your classes, chatting all you want with your friends, what do you do after getting back? Can only think of two logical conclusions you would come to. One would be to get on bed. Two would be to get on your phone. I did both. This happened about 10 days ago, a Wednesday night. I was in bed, phone in hand, and with any teenager of this generation, there can only be two logical conclusions to this. Either I tell you something very interesting that I found on the internet, or something very interesting that I found on YouTube. I went with the former. Specifically, this app. All you need to input is a word, and it gives you a graph that shows how that word has been used over centuries, 5 centuries to be exact. For example, the word war. Flat for about 4 centuries, then it spikes up 1914, World War I. By 1925, things came down, and then this dude in Austria looks at it, says no. Hitler has caused it again. World War II, the spike is longer than before, and then now it's dipped down, thankfully. But who knows? Now there's an American person with orange hair. It may be worse. And in the spirit of curiosity came other words: microwave, piano, that one 46-letter long word. Along the course of time, I had searched up two other words as well. Now, these two words produced a graph. I saw this graph before in the last 30 minutes of researching. However, this one time, it intrigued me. It caused something in me to think. Those two words. Have you heard about climate? Have you heard about change? Put them together. Climate change. Again, flat for about 400 centuries, 400 years. Then at this one point, not 50 years ago, it spikes and reaches for the skies. It shot unhealthily. It shot like Everest, Mount Everest. It's squeezed into the width of a broom cupboard. Looking at this graph, what intrigued me was that it reminded me of something my Tamil teacher told me. The road was invented first. Then, after accidents happened, road rules were put into place. We've done the same thing with our own planet. We've been looking for the cure of sustainability after the problem of pollution has caused all these symptoms of adverse natural disasters. Except something didn't add up between the two. Roads have been here for a few centuries now, for a few hundred years, invented by the Romans apparently. And soon after they were invented, accidents happened. Soon after those accidents happened, we had rules. However, the human civilization has been here for more than 300,000 years. Why has that not happened before? Why have we been only improving for the past 50 years? This is an intriguing question, and I see it as a 3-point structure. So these words, these words that spiked, such as climate change, sustainability, carbon emissions, these didn't spike because of a new development over the past 50 years. It wasn't like a computer which has only come into our life recently. It was a new development in words to describe an old threat, a threat we have been causing for about 200 years. For the span of this talk, I'm going to focus on those 200 years between the start of burning of coal to now, where these words have become commonplace in our everyday vocabulary. So the Industrial Revolution was still happening. Coal was being burnt like it was Diwali, except every day. So if crackers companies existed back then, I'm sure they would have got a great turnout. And progress was made, development was made, industrialization was made. Forests were cut down. People were made homes. A rising population was being catered to. And that was what we were told. We were told this is how the world works. And to be frank, this is what would have happened anyway. We did what worked for us. When we did something, it gave us a positive return. It gave us a large sum of money and a lot of people working for us. We didn't care about the cough we get when we inhale the smoke from these factories. The smoke, the coughs, the fever, the diseases were treated as side effects because the money was there, the benefits were there, tomorrow's food was there, until the side effects became the main character. Until the side effects became the main character, we were ignoring it. Now, what is this that caused us to ignore these side effects? That is what I see as a three-point structure. That is what I see as what happened to the landscape of climate. That is what I see as what happened that ripped the heart out of this world. And it starts nowhere else but your home. Now, your home is where this innocence, this lack of knowing what's happening around you, this is where the innocence brushes its teeth, has a bath, and goes to bed. So, at home, we have lights, we have AC, we have water, we have food. It comes to us. When we press a switch, the only consequence we see is that a beam of light appears, is that a cold draft of wind appears. We don't see the fact that the electricity required for this comes from gas guzzling power plants. We don't see that where we get this water from is actually polluting the water again. And that's because we've distanced ourselves from these consequences. Smoke that you produce, probably by burning something, doesn't flow back into your house. Any trash you discard doesn't end up in tomorrow's water flow. You have been distanced from your consequences. Even with the AC. Sure, when you turn on the AC, you're getting a cold draft of wind. The hot draft of wind that is replaced, we expel it outside, so we don't have to care about it. That comfort, for us, it produces innocence. We don't think of solving anything. We don't think of investigating anything. Because from our viewpoint, there is nothing to solve. We don't see the effects of what we produce. Let's go a bit larger scale. Back then, the average village, that is, the average settlement for miles, was no bigger than our colonies in cities. These settlements had a communal everything. Communal water supply, communal forest, communal wood supply, communal urinal. Everything was for the community, by the community, of the community, unlike our governments. So with this communal thing comes the factor of accountability. If you pollute your river source, if you pollute a water source, you are denying water for not just yourself, for some 50, 100 more people. If you use too much wood today, In winter, it's not just you, but the entire colony that's going to suffer. If you overgraze the land, you're not going to have crops. Neither will everyone around you. This accountability kept people in check. If not by yourself, then by the people around you. You know what destroyed this? The invention of separating residential and industrial areas. Power plants, landfills, sewage factories, everything was off limits, off the city limits. The city was a place of homes, main streets, and malls, nothing else. And therefore, we wrap ourselves with more comfort by not knowing what was happening because of our choices. These factories, they did more. The people working in them, who we have to assume saw what the factory was doing, unlike us. Even they were just told it was a consequence, it was a daily thing. This is what happened to one company, American Radium. As you may know, anything with the word radi is probably going to be radioactive, or the radius you find on a circle. This happens to be radioactive. Very radioactive, so such that it is more powerful than uranium. We must know uranium. This radium was painted on watches for soldiers to use just because it glowed in the dark. This didn't cause problems to the people wearing those watches. Rather, it caused problems to the people painting those watches. Innocent women who needed some work to fund their own education or fund their own household. They didn't know that the cancer was slowly ripping them apart until it did. Only after a number of deaths and a landmark Supreme Court case did American Radium come down, and the Radium Girls, as they are now known all over the world, got their freedom. Now, this just gets worse actually. These are man-made boundaries. We are by ourselves not only digging our own grave, but sedating ourselves so well that we wouldn't feel the drop when we make it. This is all human effort. If human effort can create such distance, such innocence, that is ignorance over one generation, innocence over the other, then surely people on another continent, separated by nature's forces, won't even matter in front of you. Your viewpoint. Africa's droughts are not my droughts. North India's floods, not my floods. American heat waves in the Midwest. Oh no, I live in the Southwest. How would I have caused something that is only above me? We didn't care about those consequences because, one, we did not have scientific evidence to tell us, yes, we are causing droughts in Africa. And two, common sense didn't tell us either. Until the same snowstorms we see in Russia showed themselves as flakes of snow in Ooty. We didn't care when it was just the Midwest that was experiencing heat waves. But then we do care when our local temperature raises by just a few degrees. Because we've seen a taste of what's going to happen. We've seen a taste of the flash floods that plague North India. We've seen a bit of it here. And now we're frantic. With that franticity comes words to describe it. That franticity came scientists looking for cures and looking for the problem. Mind you, this wasn't found when scientists discovered through the internet that Africa, India, Russia, China, every location in the world had a problem. They didn't care like that way. Europe didn't have a few problems that Africa did, so Europe didn't care about those problems. But when the same European scientists found out that they didn't need to travel to Africa to find more of these problems, that's when they got active. It is worth noting that with words comes warning. And now sustainability has evolved from an instinct of ours to a choice. And the words have warned us. It's up to us to think of what to do with the choice. Because choices are that one thing we can't pretend to not understand. We didn't know it, now we do. And now it's up to us to do something with what we know. Thank you.